Hey you guys, welcome back to Lisa and Company. If you're new here, I'm Lisa and we do all kinds of budget-friendly DIY design and decor here. But enough of that. Why don't we just get started? Today we are making super cheap, quick, and easy Christmas DIYs. We are going to be using things you're going to find around the house, lots of Dollar Tree crafting items, and even a few things from the thrift store. For this project, I am starting with an old piece of flooring and I have already trimmed down the sides to get rid of that tongue on one side and the groove on the other, leaving me with just a simple piece of wood. I found this decal for $2 at Dollarama and it says let it snow. And if you guys know me, you know I love snow. So I am going to be using these pieces along with a couple of the snowflakes to make a super simple sign. I'm going to go ahead and give it a good coat of my linen white chalk paint, and then I give it a light sand just to have a nice even finish for that decal to sit on. I'm going to place these on and I'm just going to let them sit lightly until I know I have exactly the right placement, and it's really easy for me to readjust it if I'm not quite happy with where I put them down. And of course I wasn't, so I just used my Cricut weeding tool to lift that one back up and lay them down. Then I'm going to go ahead and use my Cricut spatula to really make sure that those are well attached to the board. Add a few snowflakes, and my goodness, some of these are so pretty. And the best part is I can use this sign all winter long. And to make sure that this sign lasts me years and years, I'm giving it a coat of Mod Podge just to seal everything in together. You guys, can I tell you how much I love this sign? I made this nearly 3 years ago and it is still one of my favorites. In fact, this past year I used it on my Christmas tree, just sitting there right in the middle in pride of place. Just love it. Now, this DIY is so quick, I need you to pay attention because we're going to be finished before you know it. I am taking an IKEA pillowcase called Girly, and I took this Baby It's Cold Outside decal right off of Cricut Design Space. Make sure you reverse it when you're using heat transfer vinyl, and we are literally going to place this down. I'm going to cover it with a piece of parchment paper, and then we are just going to use my iron to put it down. This was actually my first time using the heat transfer vinyl, and I can't tell you how easy it is. So if you've got a Cricut and you haven't tried it yet, do it. These pillow covers from IKEA are really inexpensive and the perfect blank for anything with heat transfer vinyl. You can make yourself so many custom cushions. I absolutely love the way this one turned out. It's such a great neutral, and again, it's super for Christmas. It's got that wonderful Christmas song backing it up, but you can use this all winter long. My tumbling tower Christmas trees were such a success and so easy to make that I had to share them with you. To build your trees, and you can do them in any size you want, decide how big your bottom layer is going to be, and then as you build up, you just take one block away. It really is that simple. Now, I strongly suggest you use one of these Dollar Tree squares. It is so much easier for building them up and making sure that everything is square, especially if you're building a larger tree. I use the Aleene's tacky glue from Dollar Tree to put these together, and I find it stands up really well. Now, when you're putting together side by side, you really don't need a ton of glue. When you're putting the ends together, they tend to absorb a little more glue, so make sure you put some extra on there, and then anything that comes out, just take it off right away with a finger or a damp cloth. Before you know it, you are going to have the tumbling tower block tree of your dreams. Now this one, I am going to use this really pretty little glass candlestick that I got from the Restore as the base for this. I'm adding some of this green foam and hot glue just to fill it up, but it will be painted so you don't have to worry about what it's going to look like. Now, don't do what I did. Future Lisa's gonna tell you that I should have built a base just like this so that I had something more substantial to attach my tree to. Don't worry, I am going to fix it and you're going to see it in just a moment. In the meantime, we're going to get this painted. I'm using my favorite linen white chalk paint from Rust-Oleum, and I'm going to give that a really good coat before adding some antique wax. Now keep in mind, do what works for you, not necessarily exactly what I did in this video. Now to get my napkin separated, I used a little bit of water on a fine paintbrush. So instead of having a really sharp cut edge, I've got a torn edge that you can't really see. To tidy up that base where I added a couple of blocks, I'm going to use some really fine twine and just wrap it around a couple of times just to hide the mess that I made. Now you guys know I love a double-sided DIY. Talk about getting more bang for your buck. So I had these Dollar Tree wooden stickers in the shape of a snowflake, and I initially thought 3 would do the trick, and then 5, and then I kept going and going and going until I had a whole bunch. Again, you guys do what works for you. You could leave this side plain, you could add bling. I just liked the really neutral wooden stickers. And isn't this pretty? I love this one. I made this for Christmas in July and absolutely cannot wait to put it out with this year's Christmas decor. What do you guys think? Do you like the napkin decoupage side, or are you more for the snowflake side? Now for this project, we're going to need just a couple of materials. I'm using some of these Greenery pieces from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut those up using my side cutters and then a little bit of baker's twine. Now you could use ribbon, you could use jute twine, you could even use nautical rope, you could use scraps of fabric torn into strips to do this. Either way, use something that looks great in your home decor. Now I'm just going to tie these together so that they hold up while I finish this. And don't blink, you guys, we are going to be finished this one so very quickly. You are going to want to make so many of these, whether you hang them on a tree or doorknobs or cabinet knobs all over your house. They are so pretty and a great little addition to your Christmas decor. Now to make the hanger for this, I'm using a tiny bit of hot glue on either side just to create the hanger that will be exactly what you use to hang this. Then we're going to take more of that baker's twine and attaching it with just a drop of glue, we are going to wrap the top of this just like you would for a tassel. And that's why I call this one a tassel. You could use it at the end of a beaded garland. I actually hung these on cabinet knobs in a couple of places around the house, and they were perfect for where I needed just a little something to make it feel wintry and Christmassy, but didn't have either a lot of space or didn't want to buy anything new. Now for this one, I took a couple of pieces of the frosted boxwood, just literally scraps that were hanging around the craft room, along with a little bit of that winter greenery, and this one was so pretty too. What do you think? Would you make these? Don't they look great just hanging there, adding a little bit of decor? This fan blade was from an old fan that we took down in our house when we moved in, and I kind of loved that the other side had that nice weathered wood look. When I was going through my stash and wanted to make some trash to treasure, I decided that this was going to be the perfect backdrop for a really pretty piece of Christmas decor. So I'm using the Fusion Mineral Paint in Bayberry. It is such a pretty color. And then I'm just going to get a little bit more of a green in there on top just to give it a bit more dimension. Then of course it wouldn't be Christmas or winter without snow, so I'm using a little bit of the chalk paint on top just to make it look all frosted by freshly fallen snow. Now this was really easy, you guys. I am no artist whatsoever. I looked at a whole bunch of pictures on Pinterest for an idea of how I could simply do this. And then I'm just going through and adding a little bit of dry brushed snow. Now, I decided to take it one step further and I'm going to add a little bit of tacky glue just on some of these boughs and put a little bit of really fine glitter on it. Just not so much that it's a big messy piece of glitter, but just so if it catches the light, it looks really pretty. To finish this off, I decided I wanted some snowflakes or stars, depending on your take, and I just used a really fine artist brush with my white paint and created a few really pretty little snowflakes all around the tree. To give this a little bit of embellishment, and doesn't that look crazy with my buffalo plaid shirt and my buffalo plaid ribbon? Nope, I don't like black and white very much here, folks. So anyway, made a really simple bow, dovetailed the edges, and adding a little bit of greenery and a pine cone at the top. Just finished this off really nicely so that I could hang it up and it looked like a complete piece of decor. I frosted that Dollar Tree greenery and then added a couple of really small pieces of much nicer greenery that I picked up at Michael's. It was all silvery and frosty, so pretty, and it really mimicked the tree the way I had used the glitter on it. And I just love the way this one came together. This looks so pretty hanging on a tree or hanging on a wall, and it makes me wonder if using a whole bunch of these small fan blades would look great all over a Christmas tree, especially a larger tree. Can you imagine how much space it would fill up and how pretty it would look, whether you put words on it, the reindeer names, or painted them up with some really pretty Christmas trees? These blocks were cut from a leftover scrap of 2 by 4 and I cut them into a perfect square shape. Now, if you're familiar with 2 by 4s, they are actually only 3.5 inches. So mine measure 3.5 by 3.5. Then I painted them in this beautiful gray after sanding them, making nice, smooth, rounded edges. We don't want anyone to get splinters from home decor. Then really simply on my Cricut, I cut out the letters J and Y and then a beautiful snowflake for in the middle to make the O. And I just love these. I love the way you can use them stacked up. I love the way they tuck into a shelf. And if you have the space, you could even put them side by side. These would even look good on a tiered tray. I love them. They are completely timeless to me, and I use them year after year. I want to show you guys how super quick, cheap, and easy it is to create great decor right from your recycling bin. I took a whole bunch of jars and made a beautiful tablescape. I'll be sure to attach the entire video right down below. So I used scraps of ribbons and trims and baker's twine and a couple of Christmas ornaments to complete all of these. This one was really easy. It was a piece of velvet ribbon with a piece of burlap ribbon over top and a couple of the Dollar Tree snowflakes, and it was done. You take a couple of battery operated votives and drop them in the bottoms of all these jars, and they make great table decor, shelf decor, and you don't have to worry about a fire hazard. Now this one, now you guys, I gotta tell you, you know me, I hoard beautiful things, and this trim is no different. I bought it at Walmart, and I kid you not, this is the only project I have ever used it for. It is sitting with my Christmas stuff, and how ridiculous that it is one of my favorite ribbons or trims, and I barely have used it. Now on this one, I went along and I pulled out a whole bunch of threads to give it a really pretty frayed edge. And yes, that is a spaghetti sauce jar, nothing fancy here. These DIYs cost nothing but a little bit of ribbon and a little bit of trim. And again, you can use your scraps. You could use scrapbook paper that you had left over. Scraps of fabric would be pretty on these. I mean, seriously, save your jars. The sky is the limit. Now this is all of them put together on my tablescape in my dining room, and it came together so well. I used a couple of votives and ornaments from Dollar Tree just to finish it off. That's a cardboard deer that I picked up at Walmart and added to a big fur ribbon. I will make sure to link the video down below so you can see how I made all of these. I'm curious, are you still watching, or have you run for your recycling box to grab yourself some jars to make some great DIYs? I'll be the first one to tell you my scrap pile is exactly that. It is a scrap pile. It's not pretty, it's not on a shelf, it's not stored. So I went out and dug out this 2x6 to make the base for this DIY. I cut it down to the size I needed, gave it a really good sand, because again, this can be a little rough and we want it to look really nice and not hurt anybody. Then we are going to use a whole bunch of Dollar Tree products. I've got a white Christmas tree, which I didn't end up using in it, a set of battery operated lights, one of the little plastic light up houses, as well as some of those really pretty white trees that they've had in the stores for years. I started by painting the house with my chalk paint, and I just wasn't getting the coverage that I was hoping for. So I ended up sanding that back a little bit after it dried and taking this outside and spray painting it white. And it was just so much easier to get into all those little cracks and crevices and get a really nice even coat. Then I painted that piece of 2x6 that would make up the base, and we're going to start putting this together. I placed my house in the center, and then I went around and decided where I wanted all the trees to go. I wanted to create a really great layout for these before I started drilling any holes. Then I matched up my drill bit to the bottom of those trees so that I would make a hole big enough for that. This is such an easy DIY, you guys, and it cost $5 to make. Can you believe that? Wait till you see how great this looked on my dining room table. I did go ahead and add a couple of beads to the bottom. I just decided that it would have a little bit more presence if it was lifted up off the table. Now I decided I wanted my little house to have a little bit of glitter just like those trees did. And these houses actually have a snow pattern on top. So all I did was take my Mod Podge, put it exactly where that snow was, and put a tiny bit of glitter on it. Again, not a big glittery mess that ends up all over your house, just a little bit to create a bit of shimmer. Then I did exactly the same thing on the base using that leftover glitter just to create these really pretty drifts of glistening snow. I love this one, you guys. I still have this and I put it out in my bedroom now every year. I love how pretty it is. Those little Dollar Tree lights were wound around each tree, and I just tucked the battery pack underneath that base. I just love what you can make with a scrap of wood and $5. Oh my goodness, you guys. I took one of these old Halloween signs, even though it was leading up to Christmas, because Izzy was driving me nuts on this day, and I wanted to make something that would kind of make us both laugh. So I used this red chalk paint that I had picked up at Michael's and white on the other side. And then on my Cricut, I cut out a couple of decals, and one of them says, "Today I'm feeling naughty." And the other one says, "Today I'm feeling nice." Now, if you guys have teenagers in your life, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about because you never know whether you're dealing with Jekyll or Hyde. Am I right? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So I made this one day when she was being particularly good at being a teenager, and I hung it up on her door before she got home. We still have this sign. I absolutely adore it. I can't even tell you. The memories are flooding back. Sometimes when your kids are driving you nuts, you just need to laugh, right? Because it's just better for everybody. And that's exactly what this sign did for us. So she actually took this one to university for her. I wish I had a better shot of what it looked like on her door, and I gave her the benefit of the doubt and put the nice side out that day. These Dollar Tree crates that come inside containers are an absolute gold mine, and I am shocked I don't see more people using them. I have used them for a few DIYs, and then I use those containers to actually store things. So we're going to make a pair here. One of them is going to be raised up on a candlestick, and one of them is just going to sit on its own. So we need so few materials for this. Couple of those crates, a Dollar Tree candlestick, and a little bit of twine, and a little bit of paint. So let's get going with this. We've painted the candlestick. We're going to dry brush the paint right onto that. And even though those containers are shiny and they would not take most paints well, they take the dry brushed chalk paint really, really well. So keep that in mind if you decide to create these. You don't want to try and use acrylic paint on these. You're not going to get any coverage, and it's probably going to either wipe or peel right off. The candlestick took a little bit more paint. I believe it was like 2 to 3 coats on that one. And then once all that paint was dry, I attached them together. And now I'm going to use some of that red and white baker's twine, and I'm going to use that to embellish around the top. Use the tiniest bit of glue to get started and just wrap as many times as you want to. Now, because of the holes on the side of these crates, if I was to just drop in the floral foam, it would show. So I decided to use these Dollar Tree napkins that I had kicking around. You could use white tissue paper, red tissue paper, whatever works, or basically whatever you got kicking around. And that is all I did was wrap a little bit around. You can't really tell what's in there, but it just masks the fact that you can't see the foam anymore. Now I'm using whatever I had left over from the previous year, and I had a whole bunch of these picks from Dollar Tree. Now, you could add a bow to these or embellish them in any way you want. I am not a big bow person, so I decided that baker's twine was enough. Now, the one went together really easy because, of course, it was just that greenery and the pinecone pick. This one is actually my favorite of the two, but my goodness, there was glitter everywhere, and I had no hairspray left that I would use to make that glitter stick. So you can imagine the hairspray was everywhere, but aren't these pretty? You could change out the greenery every year. These would make great centerpieces on your Christmas table. They'd look good on a kitchen island because they don't take up a lot of space. Would you guys make these? I love Dollar Tree candles, and they are such a win for super cheap, quick, and easy DIYs. I am using Dollar Tree candles, some Dollar Tree bags, and some Mod Podge to make some really fun Christmas decor. To measure out how much I need for this one, I'm just going to roll up my candle in it and trim that right out. Now, this was one gigantic gift bag, cellophane gift bag. I'm going to trim that off, and the lines on this were so helpful for making sure that I had a nice square piece to go on there. Just use the candle to size it just so, and then just put a very thin coat of Mod Podge on there, just enough that that wrapper would stick. We don't want to glob it on and have a whole mess behind it. Then I just used my fingers to press it on, and that part was done. So to embellish that, I'm going to use a little bit of this ribbon. That was actually left over from Valentine's, and I'm going to put a little piece of this Dollar Tree greenery right on there, glue it in, tie the top, and this is done. Now, how pretty and how simple is that for a little piece to tuck into the corner? Now, you guys, I would not light these simply because of the glue and the plastic and all that. Just use them for decor without lighting these up. For this one, I grabbed this little tiny treat bag because I loved the red truck on there, and with the clear background, it was absolutely perfect for this DIY. Now I'm going to go trim off that red plaid down the side because there wasn't enough of it to go all the way around, so I figured it was better off just to use the front of the bag. I love the Merry Christmas and the red truck, and then again, just with a thin coat of the Mod Podge. And I didn't follow my own advice. This was actually the first one I made, and I used way too much. And when you see it in the end shot, you're going to see that there was a little bit of wet Mod Podge in there. I also did not need to go over the top, so learn from me. Super thin coat underneath, and you're done. Then I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to do a little bit of baker's twine, a little bit of greenery, and a couple of berries, and this is done, and so, so pretty. The last one in these trio of candles, I'm going to use one of these window clings, and I decided I was going to use the car with the tree on top for another DIY. We'd already done the red truck, so I went ahead and used the Joy decal. Simple and really, really pretty. Now, technically that would have stuck to the glass, but I didn't want to take the chance that it would come off. So I used, like you saw there, a really, really thin coat, pressed it down with my fingers, and then I did go back and wipe off the excess Mod Podge because I didn't want it to flake or peel off the glass. Again, a little bit of baker's twine around the top, and this one's going to be finished before you know it. You guys, these are just about as super quick, cheap, and easy as DIYs get. Now, what do you think when you see them all together? I had these on a shelf and they looked so, so pretty, but you could spread these around in, oh my goodness, imagine how pretty these would look on a bathroom counter or in your kitchen by your sink. So easy. It wouldn't be a Christmas super cheap, quick and easy video without an ornament. I found these little square canvases at Dollar Tree and used the wide craft sticks to make a frame for them. No measuring required here. I cut one end off, stuck it on, and just kept using my pencil and marking off to make the perfect frame. I painted them in this beautiful gray. It was actually a sample pot from Restoration Hardware, just the most gorgeous shade of gray and perfect for what I was going for. While those were drying, I took the letter V and I just colored them with my Sharpie, and they were going to go in the middle when we were all done. Now we went around and dry brushed the entire thing just to give it that weathered farmhouse look, and then taking some of those Dollar Tree garland ties, I made little tiny wreaths to go around them, trimmed them off. They always need a little haircut. Glued those down, and then using just a tiny bit of the white chalk paint gave them that really pretty frosted look. I hung these on my Christmas tree with just a little bit of ribbon, and I absolutely love these. I still have them, I still use them. Now, if you didn't want to hang this, you could also use one of these on a tiered tray. I love making DIYs with these paint sticks. I had so many of them, it was crazy. So I made a couple of wall hanging pieces here using 3 sticks and scraps of the paint sticks to attach them together at the top and the bottom. Now you could use these for so much. They are certainly not limited to Christmas. I used my antiquing wax to stain these, and I love doing that with a baby wipe because it dries so quickly and you don't have to wait for the stain to dry and you don't have to deal with any fumes. Now, you've probably seen these on Pinterest. I totally appropriated this idea from a creator on Pinterest, but you see them absolutely everywhere. I wanted a trio of trees. Now, I'm using a Sharpie marker that I picked up at Michael's, and this one was brand new, and I'm so glad it was because it gave me such beautiful, crisp lines. I'm going to do 3 different trees here, just really complementing each other, and I actually use these in my office every Christmas. I think they look so pretty, and they just add a little something for me to look at while I'm working. I took a little bit of this really pretty twine that I had picked up at Michael's and wrapped it around just to give it a little something and tied it off at the front. You could attach these 3 together and use them as one piece. I decided to keep them separate, and you could lean them on the wall. You could hang them. My goodness. You could put these in your Christmas tree. I actually love putting larger pieces in my tree because I think it really fills it up and gives it a really designer look. Do you guys like these? Do you have paint sticks to craft with? They are so much fun and they are so versatile. You guys, thank you so much for joining me here today. I really hope you enjoyed these DIYs as much as I enjoyed making them. Make sure you head down to the comments and let me know which one is your favorite. And if you enjoyed these DIYs today, please hit that subscribe button. YouTube tells me that 82% of the people watching my videos are not subscribed. Doesn't cost you anything, and it really, really helps my channel grow. So I would really appreciate it if you would just right below there, hit that subscribe button and even the notification bell so you know every time we upload a video. Here's a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Don't forget to join me over on Instagram at Lisa and Company DIY, where I share all kinds of crazy shopping hauls, shenanigans, family stuff, and even the dog. You guys, I really appreciate you stopping by. I can't wait to see you again. But until the next video, have a great day.